Welcome to another episode of Thoughts Along the Way, Words for the Journey. I am a recovering perfectionist. I've been in recovery now for almost 40 years. My first 27 years, I lived a fairly normal life with perfectionism. Perfectionism seemed to work for me until one day it simply didn't. You see, up until my 27th year, I never met a problem that I could not fix by working longer or working harder or by demanding more of myself. Until one day, that simply no longer worked, and I tumbled down into the dark abyss of depression. Depression was a rather cruel experience. Depression took away almost everything that had once worked for me. I was a graduate student, and all my life I had excelled in the classroom, from elementary school through high school and college. But now, as depression crept in, I could no longer concentrate. I could read a paragraph and read it again, and then read it again, and then read it again, and still not know what I had read. I was weary and tired all the time. I wanted to sleep. Nothing excited me. I felt numb. As time progressed, I convinced myself that I would never get better. I didn't think the pain would ever go away. And yes, in hopes of receiving relief from that pain, I contemplated ways to end it all. Finally, things got so bad that I desperately cried out for help. And with some very compassionate help, I was able to name what was going on with me, what was wrong with me, what was robbing me of any desire to live: depression. And over time, I began to discover the root cause of my depression: my perfectionism and my fears of unworthiness and ignorance that inspired my perfectionism. It was then that I learned that it was my perfectionism that was killing me. And my unholy alliance with perfectionism was my way of validating my existence. And this had begun all the way back when I was in kindergarten. There was an event. And of course, as a child, I had no way of understanding what was going on. But at the end, I convinced myself that I must be the dumbest boy in the class. I was devastated, and I didn't know what to do. Well, to get better in time, I had to do some things that I feared most. I had to go to one of my professors, my favorite professors, and say, I would love to write your term paper, but right now I can't do it. I can't concentrate. Will you allow me to take an incomplete for the semester? And I'll do my best to finish it during January. Realizing the horror I was experiencing in having to make that request of him, my professor mercifully said to me, Jamie, you need to give yourself some of that grace you so freely offer to others. He was in effect saying, Jamie, show yourself some mercy. As I emerged from that abyss of depression, I began to understand and integrate what others were saying to me at times, like, don't take yourself too seriously. You've got to learn to laugh at yourself. Everybody makes mistakes sometimes. Some of those mistakes appear big. Some of them are not so big, but we all make mistakes. I was so desperate to get better that I soaked up every word of wisdom that I could get my hands on. And so, for that reason, I've chosen our word for today to be mercy. I've chosen mercy because we all make mistakes. Perfectionism is wishful thinking. Perfectionism is an impossible and unreachable goal. And as I learned, perfectionism kills. And here is the reality. On this journey of life and of faith, we are going to make mistakes. We're going to take a wrong turn. We're going to read the map wrong and choose the wrong trailhead. We're going to say things and we're going to do things that we regret. Those of us who are recovering perfectionists, we know we're still inclined to beat ourselves up, to judge ourselves severely, to run ourselves through the ringer when we make a mistake. But we've also learned to be merciful to ourselves. We've learned that in the end we accomplish nothing by making ourselves feel bad and adding to the guilt and shame we've been trying to get off our backs all of our lives. Yes, mercy, which will now appear on your screen, is our word for the week. If God is merciful to us, can't we show ourselves a little mercy? If God looks at us through glasses tinted with mercy, let's ask God if we can borrow His glasses to look at ourselves. If in His mercy, God can let our failures and our mistakes go, can't we take a chance on such mercy ourselves? So because we're always in need of it, mercy is our word for this week. And to understand or to emphasize its importance, I have chosen some words of Jesus from His Sermon on the Plain in Luke, in which He says, "Be merciful, just as your Father is merciful." Let's let that soak in for a minute. Be merciful, as your Father is merciful. Be merciful, just like your Father. Look at yourself with the same mercy that the Father looks at you through. Those are wonderful and liberating and freeing words for recovering perfectionists, for we all make mistakes. And now, as we put mercy in our backpack for our journey, let us ponder these statements as we take to the trail now. We may always choose either judgment or mercy. Why do we find it so tempting to choose judgment? We often find it possible to offer mercy to someone who has failed miserably or been wounded deeply. What is it that inspires us to offer mercy to others when we tend to be so critical and judgmental of ourselves? Can we recall a time when we received the gift of mercy, when we were expecting harsh criticism? When we received that gift of mercy, how did we feel? relieved and grateful, or doubtful and unworthy? When was the last time we offered ourselves mercy, resisting the temptation to judge ourselves without mercy? Let's remember that mercy is never earned. It is a gift received. In a moment of silence, resurrect some thought or feeling or act which you regret, yet you still wrestle with shame. When you have remembered that time, mercifully forgive yourself, offering kindness and compassion to your wounded spirit. And now there is a prayer for you that I picked up somewhere along the way, perhaps in a little book called Creative Brooding by a person by the name of Robert Raines. But listen and pray this prayer this evening. You have set me free, Lord, free from fingers shaking at me, from voices saying, naughty, naughty, from fear of my own unique being. You have set me free, Lord, free to choose another's good over my own, to go the second mile, to turn the other cheek. You have set me free, Lord, free to take others quite seriously, free from taking myself too seriously. Let me laugh while I make up my lists. Mercy. Mercy is a good word for the journey. Perfectionism doesn't get us very far. In fact, our perfectionism may paralyze us in such a way that we don't even begin the journey. And what wonderful gifts of life, what wonders of living we would miss if perfectionism tied us to ourselves. Mercy sets us free. So these are some words of wisdom for this week. If God is merciful, let us be merciful to ourselves and one another. Mercy frees us from the compulsion of being critical and judgmental. Those words conclude our time together this evening. Perhaps we will meet each other along the way. Happy trails to you.